Hi, this orientation is specifically for you as the faculty member who is going to be working with the students in their final capstone project and practicum. So we're looking at 621 and 682. So these are for our managers. And the underpinning of the final capstone course is actually to elevate their futures and to solidify everything that they've learned in their master's program. So we're going to be really diving into some of those key concepts that the students have addressed throughout their master's program, and we're going to operationalize those, and we're going to focus on helping them to connect those dots, so to speak, as far as what was learned in their courses and what happens in practice, maybe the differences between those two, and how they can apply some of those concepts to their practice to elevate their future and to elevate their practice as leaders. So with this course itself, we're going to be diving into 90 hours of practicum experience, and that practicum experience is supported by the faculty. Now, something that's unique about our practicum courses is the fact that it's not real course driven, so to speak, so there's quite a bit of one-on-one with our students because we have very few students in our practicums, and we're able to work with them and customize their experiences to really add value to what they're experiencing in their very final course. So it has a lot to do with that personal connection, with connecting with the student, developing a practicum that's most appropriate for them, for their futures, and of course to meet the course outcomes and the aggregate outcomes for the master's program. So with that being said, there are a couple of things. Please customize the opening announcement, customize the information for you, what you want to say as far as them to contact. And the structure of the course overall is very simple. We have the orientation section, and we also have the course materials. And the course materials are basically the different assignments that are in the course and how to do those assignments, and the guidance that will provide the students with what they need to complete those particular assignments. So they're not necessarily driven by readings or by course-contained activities. This is all bringing forward what they've learned in their other courses and really focusing on that experiential learning. So then there's a section on the assignments, the assignment links themselves. So they'll learn all about what they need to do for the courses and the course materials, and then they'll make all their submissions for their assignments in the assignment link. So let's go ahead and dive into the orientation and important resources. So please include your orientation video here. And again, we want to focus on engaging the student themselves as unique individuals in a unique practice to help them to propel. And then we also have, for this course, this is actually 682, but the syllabus for 621 is virtually the same. The only difference is, please note that for 682 there are 5 credit hours, and that is because we have students who are transitioning from the old curriculum to the new curriculum, and we didn't want to charge them extra money. That would, if we had a 6-hour course, many of them would be paying for an extra credit hour. So we try to be very transparent when we have students come on. So that's why this course is 5 credit hours and 621 is 6 credit hours, and that's how it will stay. So this is just kind of an interim course for those that are transitioning students. And again, we're just really focusing on that practicum experience. Our student learning outcomes are listed here, and as well as the aggregate outcomes are listed also. So key into these are the things that we need to attain while we're completing the course. And then it breaks down the evaluation methods, and there are assignments connected to each one of these evaluation methods. And I did tick and tie all the learning outcomes, both student learning outcomes and aggregate outcomes, with the activities to assure that we're covering all of those in the course itself. So as we move on in this section, you will find the matrix for success. And really, this is the framework for the entire course. So as you're talking with your students, have them print this out, because this will give them kind of a roadmap for the course. And with the practicum courses, we don't want to just tie them to specific due dates, but there are due dates here, kind of drop dead due dates, the last dates that these requirements are due, because we need to move them along. They can't wait until the very last moment to submit everything that doesn't promote quality work. And we need to systematically help them and facilitate the process of them completing their project through the course time. If we wait too long, then that doesn't work real well either. So with the plan for success, of course, there's some work that we need to do before the course. So they should really have their Castle branch done. They should have their preceptor identified and their practicum place wherever their preceptor may happen to be. And most of these students will actually be doing their final practicums in their own workplace. And again, this facilitates the process of doing that scholarly project in that practicum location. And the whole focus is, again, elevating the outcomes, elevating their practice, elevating their experiences. So we're starting out with the goals and objectives and the clinical log, and this is a two-part form. So in the beginning, they'll develop their goals and objectives in conjunction with their preceptor, and they need to have that done early on in the course. And ideally, that should be done before they get started with any of their practicum hours, so they know what direction they're going into. So they're going to be writing 2 goals and 3 SMART objectives for each one of those goals. And you're going to review those, and actually you can kind of talk with them about it if you have suggestions on what they may want to focus on to help achieve their goals based on what you've talked to them so far and where they want to go in their future. Then the second part of that form actually is what they're going to complete throughout their practicum experience. They're going to log all their hours and kind of what they did during those days. And at the very end of the course, they're going to submit that clinical log and the goals and objectives. And with each one of the activities that they have during their practicum, they're going to tick and tie back to their goals and objectives. So this form, they're developing the goals and objectives. Throughout their practicum, they're going to achieve those goals and objectives, and they're going to tie their actual hours and their activities back to those goals and objectives. Then at the very end, they're going to have all of their 90 hours documented on that clinical log and the correlation with their goals and objectives. What you will be looking for is that they indeed attain their goals and objectives through their experiences, and that they met the requirement of all 90 hours. Now, in order for a person to actually pass this course, they do have to have all of their hours completed. So just know, if there's problems with getting hours done, there are opportunities for things like incompletes and such, but they have to complete that total number of hours. Okay. Then moving on, they're going to get started right away talking with their preceptor about a potential project, what they're going to do, what their focus is. So by February the 15th, they need to have the clinical problem and the topic nailed down, as well as diving into the evidence. What is the evidence-based practice on this particular topic, clinical problem? So they're going to document that using an annotated bib. So this isn't like writing a paper. So again, being very clear with the students, because they're so accustomed to writing papers. But the focus is, again, we listen to our students, we listen to our stakeholders. They don't write papers in the workplace. So this is diving into the evidence, pulling the most important evidence out, and with the strength of the evidence as well, what we want them to know when they're implementing evidence-based practice in practice. So they need to do the research. They don't necessarily need to write a paper. So that annotated bib, just that snapshot of what they're finding in the research, is what we're going for this particular assignment. Then they're also going to early on have to get that permission letter from the practicum site so that they do indeed have permission to complete their project. The next action is their institutional review board simulation, and there's a simulation on going through the IRB process. So they'll actually do an application for the IRB, but they don't have to move forward with it. There is a rubric on grading the IRB application, and also they'll have to draft a debrief and an informed consent. Again, it's giving them the experience that they need to move forward if they do plan to publish or do other things in the future. So we need to give them that groundwork. There are rubrics. There's a sample IRB application included as well, so just know that those materials are in with this course. Their overall scholarly project logic model, so when they're doing their clinical problem, when they're doing their annotated bib, that's the beginning of their scholarly project. So they're going to use those materials as they do their scholarly project logic model. So be sure to let them know that this clinical problem, the annotated bib, that's very deliberate to help them to get started with that project, so they're not waiting until that moment to start that project. And again, they need to systematically plan that project, and some students will be going sooner than April the 10th and having theirs done, and some may go a little bit later possibly, but it's best not to. Really helping those students to facilitate that project is really, really important. So let them know that they don't have to wait for these due dates. If they're running ahead, they need to submit those materials to you early on, give feedback to them, and then they can move on to the next step, because this practicum again is very customized to where they are and what's working with them and their preceptor. They can set their own hours for their practicum experiences. So just kind of keep that in mind, that this is a really independent course and you're basically working one-on-one with your students. So with that, they're also going to do a scholarly project presentation following their project, and they're going to go into presenting the metrics. What did they find? Was it successful? What would they recommend for future? Just kind of an overview of their project. And again, this is a competency that our stakeholders are wanting our students to have with those professional presentation skills. And then throughout their practicum experience, they're going to be doing some journaling. So there's actually 6 journals that are due. So here are the topics for those journals. And again, this is pulling some of those key concepts out from their master's program and having them very systematically journal about those key concepts. Again, tying in what they've learned throughout their master's program into the activities within this course. And this gives them some choices as far as what they would like to focus in on. Again, this makes this a very customized experience for the students. So here are the final due dates for each one of the different journals, but again, they can do these journals in real time. So if someone has an experience on policy on January the 29th and they want to journal about that experience, they can most certainly do that, and that would be their journal number 1. So just kind of know that there will be quite a bit of flexibility. And if you have any questions about the journaling, just let me know. The other thing is, it's really good to kind of, so to speak, talk with the students about their journaling and help them to think and expand perspectives based on your experience as well. So, what would you look for? And sometimes when they're journaling about one thing, a comment may be, well, what were the group dynamics? Think about what you saw, what influenced, just posing those questions to help expand that thought process and those perspectives, because it's all about building those critical thinking skills and that reflective process that is elemental as far as leadership or education or population health. They need to think very broad as leaders and have those broad considerations and complex considerations. So, and here's where we get back to the preceptor evaluation of students, student evaluation of the practicum site and the preceptor, and that's due on May 1. That's kind of the finality as far as the course itself, but with having the May 1 date, there are a few days in case there's students that had preceptors that